This video is all about the Nikon Z8. We have a new timeline, and it's very different from the timeline offered by How to Fly. This one puts us into 2023, and we also have a bunch of leaked specifications. But first, I encourage you to subscribe and choose all notifications so you're kept informed on the latest camera gear, news, and rumors. According to Nikon rumors, the Nikon Z8 will arrive in March or April of 2023. This comes from multiple sources. Now, Nikon rumors goes further, stating that while we might get the announcement in 2022, the likelihood is very slim. Now, that last statement, this one right here, is a bit of a dig at How to Fly. If you'll recall, back in July, How to Fly said that we were definitely going to be getting the Nikon Z8 announced by the end of August at the very latest. Well, then the middle of August came and no announcement, but How to Fly did provide us with an update saying the Nikon Z8 is going to be announced sometime September to October, but no later than October. So the end of the month, October at the very latest. That's certainly plausible. September to October, this is prime camera announcement time. This is when you get all the announcements in the fall, right from the second week of September up to the end of October. Canon, Nikon, Sony, Pentax, Olympus, Lumix. This is the time to do it. Outside of this, it's from January all the way up until the end of May. And I don't know one way or the other. I think How to Fly's got a pretty good track record, but right now what we have is we have How to Fly saying by the end of October, and we have Nikon rumors saying, no, not going to happen. It's going to happen sometime in 2023. But let's get to the specifications. What are the specifications? What are the leaked specifications? What can we expect from the Nikon Z8? How to Fly hasn't given us any leaked specifications. And Nikon Rumors says, well, we're not really sure either. Now, what Nikon Rumors is able to do is they've looked at the multiple sources that they've got, and there's really two scenarios, and I'm going to cover those scenarios in just a little bit. But when you see these scenarios, you're not going to go, wow, this is amazing. You're going to go, yeah, this is the same old regurgitated conjecture that we've heard over the past couple of months. We've got basically a mini Z9, and I'll get to that in just a moment. I'll show you that information. And then we've got a mirrorless Z-mount version of the D850. So let's take a look at that first rumored scenario, a Nikon Z9-like camera without the built-in grip. Same sensor as the Nikon Z9, but a smaller body. Basically, impossible to achieve the same performance in a smaller body. Doesn't make sense to me. Well, I think that's the whole point here. It's not supposed to provide the exact same performance of the Nikon Z9. And I just look at the Canon EOS R5 and what it's able to do. With firmware 1.6, that camera is able to deliver unlimited 8K RAW. Unlimited 8K RAW, 30 frames per second for hours and hours using the new firmware update without any other hardware attachments or fans. You can also do 8K oversample 4K, essentially unlimited. We've tested this up to 2 hours myself, the Def Director, and many other people shooting 8K RAW, 8K oversample 4K, basically unlimited. And of course, it's able to shoot stills at 20 frames per second, lossless RAW on a 45 megapixel sensor. Full frame, it's not even backside illuminated, unlike the Nikon Z9, which is. So I certainly think it's plausible that they could deliver a camera with not the same performance specs, but still performance specs that would be pretty impressive. But this is one scenario. I don't think this is a leaked specification in any way whatsoever. I think what a lot of people are doing, and myself inclusive, we're trying to forecast what we think Nikon's going to do with the Z9. And there's one camp, which is what this first scenario is based on, which takes a look at the Canon EOS R5 and says, okay, something like the Canon EOS R5, but we take the innards of the Z9 and we just make it into a smaller body without the battery grip and a little bit cheaper. Well, what is that other scenario? Well, that involves the D850. A mirrorless version of the Nikon D850, meaning a slower, high-resolution camera, one possible scenario, 60 plus megapixels, and a $3,500 price tag. This does make sense to me. If true, Nikon is basically trying to repeat the huge success they had with the D850, and I believe this will actually work. A mirrorless version of the Nikon D850 on the Z-mount. It certainly makes a lot of sense. With 60 plus megapixels, this could prove to be a very powerful camera. It could reproduce the popularity of the D850, but in a mirrorless form, and be really helpful for Nikon. We've got that very powerful Nikon Z9, and then this Nikon Z8, just under it for around $3,500, I think would be very powerful. But I've been holding out on you a little bit. You see, Nikon rumors also had this other so-called leaked roadmap, that one that said we're supposed to be getting it sometime in March or April. So taking a look at the Nikon Z8, second row down, again, they're showing us the date, 2023, third month, which is March, and they're telling us that it's going to be 8K. It's going to have a stacked CMOS sensor. Not really surprising there, but if it is going to be 8K, well, most likely that's going to follow the R5 mini Nikon Z9, where it's going to give us 8K, because if it was going to go 60 plus megapixels, then that would indicate we'd have something like 8.6K, or, well, that would be based on 50 megapixels. We'd be looking north of 9K over sample 4K. But you can see we're also seeing the Nikon Z7. It's supposed to be announced this September. It's also supposed to be able to do 8K, have a BSI CMOS sensor. It's going to be the Z7 Mark III, along with the Z6 Mark III, also in September. It's going to be capable of 6K video, and it's going to have a BSI CMOS sensor. And there's a few other goodies on here, but how accurate is this information? Are these leaked specifications? Is this leaked from Nikon, or did somebody just make it up? And see, that's the problem we're having right now. We don't have any really trusted or reliable sources. Even Nikon Rumors is getting multiple sources telling them things, but they're coming up with two completely different scenarios. At this point, we have no idea what the Nikon Z8 is going to have. And yes, if we trust this image here of the roadmap for leaked Nikon cameras for 2022 and 2023, then yes, the Nikon Z8 is going to have 8K video, but it doesn't tell us anything else. And you know what? It could be 8K video. It could top out at 8K video. If you had a 60 plus megapixel sensor, wouldn't you say it had 9.6K? You wouldn't just leave it at 8K, because that would be the real big selling point here. You don't understate your products. And I'm pretty sure, regardless of what form it takes, whether it's a mini Nikon Z9, very similar in capabilities to the Canon EOS R5, or whether it follows the D850 coming out with a successor that's mirrorless, that's all about high megapixels, 60 plus megapixels, backside illuminated stacked sensor, would be really interesting. I'd be really excited about that too. But which one are we going to get? What do you think? Which of these makes the most sense? And what specifications do you think we'll actually see? When I started covering the Nikon Z8 earlier this year, we really didn't have anything. And even at that time, the first video I came out with, there was an awful lot of conjecture of whether even a Nikon Z8 was going to be real, whether it was going to exist, whether we would actually see this camera. It certainly made a lot of sense to take the Nikon Z6 and Z7, come out with a Mark III, and basically take all the rumored specs that we were expecting to see in basically a Canon EOS R5 like camera, and beef up the stills capabilities of the Z7 and the video capabilities of the Z6, giving people a video-centric camera and a still-centric camera. It made a lot of sense, and we're seeing from this supposed leaked roadmap that Nikon Rumors has presented us with as showing that, yes, we are getting a Nikon Z8, but we're also getting a Z7 Mark III and a Z6 Mark III. And the Z6 and the Z7 Mark III are both supposed to be announced this month, September. And what is today? The 13th. Actually, by the time you're watching this, it's probably already the 14th. So we're already halfway through September. I expect a lot of announcements in the coming weeks. And yes, there's a lot of news that's been going on the planet around the world. And because of some of that news, I think things have been delayed a little bit, because you want to dominate the news cycle. You don't want to be overshadowed by everything that's going on. Nikon Z6 Mark III, the Nikon Z7 Mark III coming this month. Wow, that would be wonderful. And if we got those two cameras, I wouldn't mind waiting till the new year to find out about the Nikon Z8. But what do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you do want to stay up to date on the latest news and rumors, specifically regarding the Nikon Z8 or the Z6 Mark III and the Z7 Mark III, go ahead and subscribe, but please make sure you choose all notifications. By choosing all notifications, as soon as I publish a new video, you're going to get notified by YouTube, so that way you can stay up to date on the latest camera news and rumors. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.